Welcome to this session of Taming Depression and Anxiety with Dr. Pat Ryan. So today I want to start with a quotation by William James, who is considered the father of psychology. And he wrote, "The world we see that seems so insane is the result of a belief system that is not working. To perceive the world differently, we must be willing to change our belief system, let the past slip away, expand our sense of now, and dissolve the fear in our minds." And the very basis and idea of rational emotive therapy, using this kind of tool, really works out very well, because Ella's really focused on the belief system and how it may not be working and how we continue to maintain disturbance in our system. Okay, I'm going to start by talking about rational self-analysis, which is another way of being able to get at some of these disturbing feeling states and functions that you've had before. So rational self-analysis is really a tool that can be used very effectively to solve problems. It is a written process chart that helps people focus on a particular event in a rational way. Now, REBT is not the only method that can be used. This is merely, I want to make that caveat clear, this is just one option. When I went into Google rational self-analysis, I can't tell you how many different forms there were. You can use any of those forms that seem to be helpful to you. But this is really a cognitive way of beginning to retrain your self-talk so that you stop having high levels of very disturbing arousal. And arousal seems to interfere with our thought process, with our problem solving. It just is not a good actor, let's put it that way. So I think we've gone over some of that before in terms of rational thinking, in terms of, let's see, just getting in our way of being able to maintain some sort of calm in the face of upsetment. So let's just talk about this for a minute. So by this, we mean that you can look at what's happening or what has just happened. And in fact, you can go back as far as you want to and use old traumas or difficulties or injuries that you have thought that other people have brought you. And discover your own thoughts and feelings in that situation. Decide whether or not your thoughts, feelings, and actions are or were rational for you. And develop new thoughts, feelings, and actions that you decide are rational, and I'm going to add beneficial for you. So naturally, these rational self-analysis things won't solve all your problems. There's many, many ways in which we can get at some of the same things. They won't they won't put money into your savings account, they won't fix your leaky faucet, but they won't even make other people do what you want them to do either, which is bottom line for rational emotive behavior thinking. Rational emotive self-analysis here are methods for self-change. They can be effective when, 1, you are very upset and want to be less upset or calm. 2, you know what you want in a situation and your upset feelings are getting in the way of your goals. 3, you are in a situation that you cannot change and you want to change your own feelings. 4, you are not sure what you want to do, which is often the case for many of us, but you want to feel more calm before making a decision. 5, you want to break up an emotion or a behavioral habit of long standing. 6, you want to try something new but are afraid. 7, you don't understand a reaction you've had and you want to figure out why you reacted as you did. 8, you repeat a self-defeating action often and want to understand why so that you can change. Now, there's a lot of whys in there, and we've gone over that before. I often say to my clients, well, why is a crooked letter? So when you're asking yourself a why question that your brain doesn't have the answer to, what does it do? It goes into rumination over and over and over and over again. So in any case, it's still, again, remember that your brain thinks it's solving the problem when it goes over and over and over things. But I think that one of the ways in which we can really help ourselves is to begin to learn how to use a different cognition to begin to manage our feelings a whole lot better. Not because you want to be bland, not because you want to be, happy, thinking happy is feeling happy, because that's just too simplistic. But nonetheless, how long does it take to do this rational self-analysis? Well, as with any new skill, it takes longer in the beginning because you're just learning how to take each step. And this is really a stepwise function. This is a learning and a training process to train you to help yourself in a whole variety of situations. After you've learned the method well, most rational self-analysis will take less than an hour, often no more than half an hour to complete. In fact, I find that this is a very fast process for me. Of course, I've been doing it for 30 years. And so consequently, I have a lot of practice. I have a lot of practice for myself. I have a lot of practice with my clients. So it's just something that I do as a natural circumstance of my thinking. So does it have to be written down? Well, we've talked about that also. They don't have to be written down. They are but it's far more effective to write it down. Because remember what I said in one of my last presentations, writing things down really goes to the visual cortex of your brain, and even when you can say some of those things out loud, that goes to the auditory cortex of your brain, so that it really focuses in and reinforces what you're learning. So it really helps to get at more of your self-talk and gives you a chance to more often challenge your irrational demands that other people be the way you want them to be for you. So let's look at this new form, because this is a little different form. Basically, the vast majority of people come in with feeling states. And basically, they go through a whole, oftentimes they'll just talk in terms of, well, I was upset by. And so what I want to do is help my client get more specific about what that feeling state is. And because it seems that mad, sad, scared is more prominent in so many things, so many events and actions that we have, I focus on the difficulty with those three. This is sort of the ABCs along with the ABCs of REBT. So we're going to have a lot of fun with alphabets here. But in any case, the consequences up here are really the consequent feeling states. So basically, you'll, generally speaking, feel your dander rise about something. We talked about anger the last time. You'll feel your upsetment and your arousal rise, and then you'll start feeling mad, And the activating event is, how dare they talk to me like that? How dare they speak to me in that way? How dare they accuse me of whatever that might be? So we start out with something that's really quite frequently happening with people. And then we go on to the irrational beliefs. Well, I think most of us think that we're irrational most of the time, until we get into a high level of passionate feeling states. But there is a lot of irrational statements that go through our mind in a very quick way. Okay, I found this very interesting article on LinkedIn by a very prolific and very well written piece called 5 Ways to Work with Your Mind to Stop Negative Thoughts. And this was published back in 2018, and the author of that article was Debbie Hampton, Hampton. So she talks about that everybody has negative, pesky, worrisome thoughts, and that's normal. If you're lucky, it's less often than all the time. So why do we have a negative brain? Well, I think I've addressed that before, because there is estimates that somewhere around 60 to 80% of our thoughts are negative. Remember what I said about rumination and thoughts running through our head at warp speed, or speed of lightning even. And those thoughts, if they contain mad, sad, scared ideas, and they are feeling states that in the statements, then you're going to have a consequent response to that. And certainly it's constantly scanning the environment for signs of dangers. Believe me, the bottom line for us all is safety. We want to be safe where we are. And so, but we're always ready, and some people are more ready than others because they already have a heightened level of overreactivity. And if they do, then it doesn't take much for that cup to runneth over. And that's exactly what, and people are not happy doing that. They're not happy having ruminative thoughts that run through their mind and just even interfere with their sleep, interfere with their processing, interfere with their problem solving. Because the brain really thinks, remember what I said about rumination, and there was that article that I told you about, rumination, that was written in a workbook by a psychiatrist. You have that resource also. That basically the brain thinks it's doing the right thing. It thinks it's doing its work. It thinks it's figuring things out. But it's just going round and round and round, particularly if it's what ifs. Because it's desperately attempting to find a solution, and solutions are not easily come by sometimes when we're over-aroused. Debbie talks about interrupting negative thought patterns and how to stop this constant negative chatter to find some peace and happiness. And she said, you have to intentionally become aware of and work with your thoughts. Now that's very supportive of all the things that I've been saying up to now. Because you can't control the random thoughts that pop into your head. You can begin to manage that, okay? I'm not going to argue with anyone about whether this is controlling or not. But I think it's normal for people to want to control their environment. It's just that the only person you can control really in your environment is yourself. And so what we're doing is it's self-reflective, it's inner dialogue, and so it's really important, as William James said, to become aware of our belief systems and how they're operating and how we demand that the world be the way we want it to be for us or for someone else even. But we can't make other people feel. Now, there may be some people that will argue with me about that. I tend to think that we got into that habit when we were 2, when your mom said, "You made me angry when you spilled the milk." And that started the ball rolling in terms of, oh, the brain begins to get this back and forth of this accusatory kind of thing that happens. And then we think that that's the way it's supposed to be, because that's the way the brain organizes things. But that can be changed. It's not written in stone. That can change. And that can change when you begin to train yourself to think, to begin to dispute those irrational ideas. And here we are down to disputation. We begin to dispute those irrational shoulds, musts, have-tos, that people should be and act the way we want them to be and act. And even sometimes, a lot maybe, we do that to ourselves as well. So it's really a negative spiral that goes on and on unless we learn how to stop it. Okay, if you want to read more, her name is Debbie Hampton, Hampton, and the title of her piece is 5 Ways to Work with Your Mind to Stop Negative Thoughts. And so, again, these are little pieces of information that you can pull in from a whole variety of sources to really help reinforce what you can do to begin to manage the way you feel, okay? And manage your thoughts and manage your beliefs. And some of those beliefs need to be looked at quite strongly because they're the ones that operate. Remember what I said before in my little way, thoughts generate feelings and result in behaviors. I just want to review this right quick because I think it is so important. This information came from Dr. Chris Aikens, A-I-K-E-N, a workbook on the Depression and Bipolar Workbook. And he, again, explains that very well. It supports very much what I've been saying all along, that the ruminative brain is like a child who won't come down for dinner because he or she is engrossed in a project. Just one more thing, Mom, and I'm almost done, but the dinner never gets eaten because she never reaches the end. So the brain doesn't really generally doesn't generate solutions unless there are occasional spontaneous kinds of solutions that jump into, science has been full of those kinds of spontaneous things that have happened, but for most of us, that is just not the case. We don't find solutions in the ruminations because they go on and on and on. And the brain loves that input. Remember that it likes the drama, it likes the input, it likes being useful here, okay? Except that it doesn't have an end point. and it's not easy to deal with that. Again, I think that this kind of tool, using this kind of tool, is what can really help you learn how to manage that a whole lot better. And so I've found over my 30 years of practice that this has been wonderful for a lot of people. And I hope that you will be able to use this effectively for you. So what kind of ruminations do we get into? Well, we get into the future, conflicts, mistakes, upsetting events from the past, uncertainties, doubts, imperfections. One of the things particularly about imperfections is that I ask for a contract with all of my clients to stop beating on themselves for anything. I don't ever have anybody get better by beating up on themselves. I find that stops the learning process. It gets in the way of trying to figure out what you can do to take care of yourself in a very functional fashion. Also wondering about other people's intentions. You can't read other people's minds. But I find that just about everybody is a sidewalk psychologist. They always know what the other person's thinking, and then they get themselves into that, and then they're stuck with that idea, which may or may not be correct. So when people, I've had people ask me, well, why does my husband do whatever, or why does my friend or my whoever that they're talking about, why do they do such and such? And I say, because they can. And I stop with that. And nobody really likes my answer, but that's the truth. So going on with this, comparing yourself to others, or an ideal that you have in your head about how you think you should be, we're back to the shoulds, to the irrational demand that you be the way you think you should be. Now, there's nothing wrong with seeking to have better behaviors, to have better outcomes, nothing at all. Except that, again, beating ourselves interferes with our learning process. It interferes with appropriate feedback to our systems and to our belief system. And remember what William James said, that we have a belief system that's not working. So if it's not working, it may be a good idea to look at how you can shift that, how you can manage that. And that's why I think this is so useful in terms of helping people learn how to manage their thoughts, that then they're feeling differently, and that they're having different outcomes. So again, he also talks about and lists asking why questions, well, or pondering the meaning of things or a meaning of life. Oftentimes teenagers get into that. What is the meaning of life? And then there is no really set answer for that. Or analyzing mistakes or situations that went wrong. There's nothing wrong with that analyzation process unless you're not thinking in terms of, well, what did I like about what happened? What didn't I like about what happened? So I think it's really important to look at both sides of how you responded to a situation or how someone responded to you, either way. Because that's really important. What did I like about what happened? What didn't I like? Or what did I like about my actions and what didn't I like? It's not a blame game. It's really a learning game. We learn more from our errors than we do from our successes. So it's really good to use that tool, and it's a pretty quick thing to do. It's not something that's going to take you hours to figure all of that out, because we're pretty fast thinkers. The other list that I have is a very great researcher in REBT was a Dr. McMillan. And he did a big research study with people, and he came up with 45 dysfunctional personal messages or thoughts that cause problems for people. And so I'm not going to go through all of these because I'm just going to put that into the record and so that you can see that for yourself. But I often go over these with people to find out where they're at with this kind of stuff. And making mistakes is terrible. Basically, if you don't learn from your errors, you're going to do it again and again. That old saw, history, you're doomed to repeat your history unless you understand it. One that seems to be pretty prevalent today, people should be condemned for their wrongdoing. Well, yeah, it's wrong things, evil things are not nice, that's for damn sure. There's no two ways about that. But basically, hopefully, there will be some good resolution from that. They will be caught, they will be taken care of, whatever. But remember that one of those basic things is that that Ellis came up with in terms of his original statements is that people should be punished for things. And yes, sometimes punishment is appropriate. Unfortunately, punishment from a behavioral point of view has random effects. So some people get away with it, some people don't. And so we're left with that bag of how do we come to terms with the fact that some people who do evil things do not get punished for them. But if we focus on that and focus on that and focus on that, basically we're stuck with, with what's left with that. It's too bad that life isn't fair. It's too bad that the world isn't fair. But that's the reality. So it's to learn how to manage your feelings. It doesn't mean that you stop being unhappy about those kinds of things, but stop being overly unhappy about those things is really what I'm suggesting. Man's inhumanity, unfortunately, has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And we can hope that we can finally find solutions to that. And they're very hard. They're not easy to find. That's my little philosophical bit. I need to be sure to decide. That's another one of those traps. There's a lot of things that you're never going to be sure about, but I talk about people making good educated guesses, that it really is okay to do the best you can, use the information you have, get what information you can, and then begin to see where that can help you begin to make sense of your actions and other people's actions. But mainly making sense of your own actions is really where we're at. This is really the inner self-talk, dealing with these things that go on in our brain and just interfere. It just interferes with our life in so many ways, which we know, and it's not easy to stop. But one little behavioral tool, I think I mentioned this before, is that when you begin to get over and over and over in that rumination, you can start using the word stop it. Stop it, Pat. Stop it, Jean. Stop it, Jane. It's a small behavioral tool that interrupts that chain reaction between the thought and the feeling. And every time you do that is helpful because you want to weaken that connection, that chain reaction between those two things. It's not uncommon for clients to say to me, there's got to be something wrong with me. And they can't figure out what it is. So they go round and round and round about what's wrong with me. So we really go back to, okay, let's see if we can look at what beliefs have you developed, what values have you developed, how are they accurate, how do they work? So that I like to use the what, where, when, and how rather than why, because then you are being specific. And I really think the brain likes clarity. I think I've said that before, I'll say it again. The brain likes more simple things. We are not good, in spite of what they say, we're not really good multitaskers. That the brain can only deal with one thing at a time. And so therefore it's really, doesn't mean that you're going to slow down in slow-mo, but again, we're going to look at those things a little bit more carefully. If you're willing to look at, this is the self-analyzation process, the looking at, even quietly, in the privacy of your own head, looking at how you're thinking about things and how you can help talk to yourself in a way which is more beneficial, so that your outcomes become different. They become more pleasant, perhaps. And I'm all for, I don't think we can make ourselves happy 100% of the time. I think happiness can be fleeting. But that doesn't alter the fact that sometimes it's good enough just to be neutral about a lot of things in life over which you have no control. What I want to bring to you are resources for you to help yourself with managing your own feelings and beliefs. I have gathered stuff from a variety of sources, and there's lots of resources. As I said in the very first session that I did this, there are 55,000 books written on depression. So to my mind, I'm saying, gee, if there are 55,000 books written on depression, how come it is still one of the number one problems in mental health? I have helped hundreds of people with this, helping them manage their emotions effectively for their benefit. And whatever you can use to help yourself, go for it. And don't forget to subscribe, because I still have more ongoing things to share. So you take care. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye now.